On today's episode of Watch Time, Kathy, Taylor, and I are back, and we're talking about video length yet again. So make sure to stay tuned to this episode if you are unsure which video length is right for you and your next project. Right after this. Welcome back to Watch Time, everybody. And, I'm here again with Kathy Taylor. It feels a little different in this episode. I'm not quite sure what feels different about this episode.
I don't know. I haven't been here for a couple episodes, so.
It's almost like I'm looking in the wrong direction.
Well, we talked about how this works with my hair today, so this is what's happening.
Well, today is a very important topic. So I knew we wanted to talk a little bit about video length. And I know we've talked at this topic at length, interestingly enough. But I feel like we could just never hit this point home enough. And I know you really wanted to lead this and have some questions on this. So why don't we let you jump in and we could talk a little bit about, why you want to talk about this and where it kind of came from.
Living and breathing video work every day, it's almost become kind of like a sore spot for us where, every time it comes to video length, I feel like I perk up and I want to shout from the rooftop that it's not the only question you should be asking and that there's so many other important aspects to it. So whenever I see it still being asked in the real world by marketers and business owners, different teams, it makes me want to, help educate our audience again about how they should be thinking about creating a video and how it's so much more than length. So recently I was on a call with a PR team and they were helping a client and on some other things that were not video related, but the client was a startup and they happened to have a video script. And they were like, hey, can you take a look at it for us? And so the PR team was like, yeah, we could take a look at it. Just give us some information first. How long is the video going to be? And again, it struck a chord with me because, we don't know anything about this video. We don't know where it's going to be used. We don't know what it's even about. And the first question is, how long is the video going to be? So it just kind of reminded me that this really is something that we need to educate our audience about. And it's not that that's a bad question, but it shouldn't be your first question, because if you're only scoping your whole strategy around the length, then you're missing a lot of other things.
Truthfully, it's because all videos that are 2 minutes long are the most successful. So we want to make sure that they stay. I'm just kidding. I don't want to.
I was trying to remember the reports I've read, because there are reports that come out every year and they're like, this is the exact length that's working super well on Instagram or whatever.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's so many variables to that, and not everybody's reading all those reports, and it changes every year. So I think it's just a good idea to have a refresher again about, some general rules of thumb when you're going about talking about video.
Yeah, well, I know, first off, the number one thing that I just want to call this out there, and for everyone that's watching and listening, I think length comes into play for three reasons. And I think reason number one is cost. Everyone assumes that a shorter video costs less money, so it's going to be less budget. I think length also comes into play because of attention spans. Everybody says, people have the attention spans of a goldfish, which if you've been listening to the podcast or you listen to any video marketer out there, Ben Amos, Todd Hartley, anybody who's in that space, they're going to tell you that that's not accurate at all. So I think that's the other thing. And the third reason I think length kind of comes into play is because I think that people have this thought process that there is a perfect length. And that's why it's I feel like these are the three reasons. There is a perfect length, and people are going to, the algorithm's going to like that specific length and it's going to attract more people, which we now know is not the case at all. So I think those are the three reasons why it always comes up. And it's just like views, you talk to a client, they go, I want to, this video I have only has, 300 views, so it's not successful. And it's you're just basing it off of a view metric. You really don't know what you're looking at. And with views, really, it's a lot like if you've ever seen Whose Line Is It Anyways? It's a game where, the points don't matter and nobody actually wins. So I think that the biggest thing to really look at when we're looking at length, and in my opinion, at least when we're working with clients, is the first thing is, what's the goal of this video and what's the messaging? What do we have to get across to people? Because I think with some of these clients that we work with, some of them have very complex businesses. They have very complex products. They have things that they're trying to explain. And, they go, I want to do a 2-minute video because nobody's going to watch more than that. And I go, well, okay. But the thing is like, if you can't explain what you do in 2 minutes, and everybody knows what I'm talking about. Anybody's been to a networking event and then somebody gets up and says, let me tell you, like, oh, hi, my name is Bill Barona and I'm the owner of Flex Media. And they go into a whole tirade about everything they do, like everything from their current business to their past business to, who they're married to and like the MLM that they're doing on the side. And you're like,
and they've lost you.
They've lost you. But, but like the thing is it's like, that's not the format. That's not the time. And it's going into, like that takes us from not only, the complexity, but also the platform.
Yes.
Yeah. If you're in a networking group and you stand up and you're supposed to give your name and your company, absolutely. You can't sit there and like go on a tirade because you are going to lose people. But if you're having coffee with somebody one-to-one and they go, tell me about your business, tell me about you, and you start going through that person's going to stay engaged because they've asked the question, they want the answer, and it's important to them. Now, granted, just like all other platforms, they're not going to stay engaged for an hour when you tell them your life story, but they're going to give you more leeway. You can take the 5 to 10 minutes to tell somebody how you kind of got to where you are and why you do what you do, because it is a one-on-one situation and that person is genuinely interested in you.
So what you touched on was 2 really important points. Instead of how long should the video be, I liked how you said, your first question should be, what is the goal for the video? So in this scenario, this was a startup company. And once we got into it, we learned that, they had a video on their website, but it was just of the one founder. And there was another guy that got involved. And the video also really didn't touch on their technology. So we figured out that the goal of the video was to have, both people on the team be able to be in the video, and because it was meaningful, because one was, a certain executive that brought a lot of legitimacy to the company, and then the other one was really like the key behind the technology. So they both want to be in the video to have their expertise, and they want to be able to explain their technology to somebody that's learning about it for the first time. So we learned that was the goal. And then the second question is really, where's the video going to be? And the goal kind of like, what's the platform? And so the goal kind of determines the strategy of the platform. They didn't really have like a homepage explainer video, which is always a great place to start. So, there's your platform on your website. And then knowing those 2 things will help you determine how long the video should be. Maybe a website video doesn't have to be 30 seconds. Maybe it could be a little bit longer, and you're not going to be able to explain your whole business and technology in 30 seconds, but you also probably don't want to explain it for an hour on your homepage either. So I think that progression is important for people to understand, like, what is the goal, what is the platform, and then how does the length play into both of those?
Yeah, and I think for social media, what a lot of people don't think about, like what we recommend to a lot of our clients is, I call them on-ramp videos, and I don't know if that's technically the industry term. Todd Hartley from Video Marketing Mastery, that's what he called them. So I call them on-ramp videos.
I like it because it explains the purpose.
Yes, it's an on-ramp. It's like you're getting them on the information freeway, and this is the on-ramp. If you think, the reality of it is, if you're going to put something on Facebook or Instagram and you think you're going to put a long video on there and it's going to stop somebody from scrolling to watch your video, you better have one hell of a hook, and you better have some great visuals and something that like is so compelling that somebody needs to stop in their tracks and learn about your product right then and there. Because really, social media a lot of times it's the discovery phase. There's people that either know they have a problem but don't really know what the solution is yet, and that's why like they've been doing some research, and so maybe your ad is being targeted to them, or it's somebody who doesn't even know they have a problem, and then all of a sudden it pops up and you're like, I have that problem. And so I'm going to use an example about myself. And this is a little something insight into me that I don't mind sharing, but I oftentimes as an entrepreneur, I have a hard time sleeping at night. I like to watch TV to fall asleep, and it's just common. A lot of other entrepreneurs I talk to, they have the same problem. And if you're listening and that resonates, then pay attention, because this is going to be important.
Here we go. What's the answer?
So I was on social media last night or this morning, and I was scrolling through, and all of a sudden I got this targeted ad for this for this app that's out there called I forgot the name of the app now, but it's an app for like mental health, and it's for like procrastination and things like that. And it literally said that if you're staying up at night, staying up late at night watching TV, it's because it's not just because it's a sleeping issue, it's because you probably are having a hard time falling asleep because it's a procrastination thing, because you give so much of your time all day to your business or your life, and you don't want to go to sleep because you don't want to give up that little bit of time that belongs to you. And like, I saw this and I was like, oh my gosh.
That's my pain point.
That's why I had no idea. I was like, my phone knows more about me than I know about me.
Yeah. So what did you do?
So I actually went and I downloaded the app, and it's like you fill out a daily thing, and it's like affirmations and stuff. And it's like on the road to like trying to take your time back. So that right there is the example of an on-ramp video. And that's like a 30-second type thing. I don't think this was a video. I think this was just a graphic that pulled me in. But that's where that would be. Now, when you go to somebody's website, you have more of a captive audience. And that's, to your point, that's where you can have the video that's, 2 to 5 to 10 minutes long, depending on how long you're trying. I mean, it could be longer. It depends on what you're trying to explain and what you're trying to sell and what you do.
Yeah.
But I also feel like this goes back to what is the goal. And this is, you as a writer, the messaging, right? Because you'll have people that maybe the goal is, well, I obviously want to sell my products or services to people that have this pain point. But then you have the wrong writing, because those people like, let me tell you about my business. And then the people that go there go, I don't care about your business.
Yeah, and
I care about my problem. Yes.
Yep.
So it goes back to what is the goal of this video. And so now that will also buy you more time. And then longer videos, I think we maybe talked to Don Mann about this in one of the episodes. I think it was the one with him, where we discussed like, long form videos. Like what are these long form videos and when can these be used? And, I typically tell our clients, like, if it's going to be longer than 5 to 10 minutes, then I think it's more suited for a customer that is ready to make a buying decision. So maybe, they no longer are discovering, they're no longer shopping. They have found your solution and somebody else's, and they are in this decision-making phase. And do I want to invest this money into this person's solution? And really, I truly believe in, if you think about this and you think about human behavior, the more expensive the product or service, the more the buy-in, the more that person is going to be willing to watch a video for it. And I mean, I do this. I'm sure you've probably done this, and it's all subjective to the person. What is a lot of money to you? If you have a lot of money, there are a lot of wealthy people out there that will buy BMWs, like people like us buy Chevys or Fords. Like it's not a big deal. Like, I mean, it is a big deal, but it's not, it's like, okay, we have to buy a car. Like, I have to buy a car. But if you or I were to buy a BMW or something that was a high performance vehicle, I can guarantee you that we're going to take time to research it. And if I'm going to make a $60,000 to $80,000 purchasing decision, I might watch a 20 to 25 minute video to see if this is the right decision for me, because that could cost me a lot of money. If you're a business, it could cost you your job. If you're the one who's responsible for purchasing these things.
Yeah, I think that is a great example. It's a good overview of kind of some of the considerations that go around video length. A good example of how you went through a series of information and different visuals you were seeing, at least on different platforms, to make a purchasing decision. And you touched on a lot of great points that we've done other topics that lead to other topics. So, video length, we have a podcast on that goes even more in depth about how long your video should be. We talked about how video length doesn't determine cost. So we have another podcast on how video pricing works you can dive into. I know we've also done podcasts on how to use video through the different phases of the buyer's journey, which you touched on. So I would encourage people to learn more about those. But for right now, after you listen to this podcast, just stop asking how long video should be as your first question. And instead start trying to ask, about the goal, and then look into the platform to achieve your goal. So I guess that's just the main takeaway that I want everyone to have today is just, stop asking how long off the bat and start asking why and what is the goal.
Well, and if you're really using video strategically, like, and I know we talk about this on episodes, like it is a tool, but it is also, it's a strategy of its own, like just as it is a piece of content, but it is a strategy.
Marketing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the thing is it's like, if you are not using it strategically, if you're not, having a conversation with your video provider about these things that we're talking about. If you're not thinking about these things, then you are subscribing to that spaghetti method, which we've mentioned, where you're just throwing content at the wall and maybe something will stick. And I know we've talked about it. Like, videos can cost you anywhere from, under $1,000 to tens to hundreds of thousands of dollars. And there's nothing worse than purchasing a set of videos from a company that's a high-end set of videos for tens of thousands of dollars, and you've put no strategy behind it, because not all video production companies use strategy. They just make what you tell them. It's like short order cook. And when that happens, you've made a tens of thousands of dollars mistake that, you basically made content that's useless. You have purchased a vehicle with no engine.
There you go. Yeah.
So you can sit in it.
you want to get the most for your investment, which is always something we're reiterating as well. Mm-hmm. So hopefully that helps. Thanks for going through this again with me, Bill.
Sure, we'll go through it again.
Well, I know it keeps coming up, but I'm all down for continuing to explain it so that people can get the value from the videos that they invest in as they deserve. So,
well, thanks everyone for joining us, and we're looking forward to seeing you in the next episode. Thanks for listening to Watch Time. We hope you guys enjoyed today's episode.
And remember to like and subscribe so you don't miss future episodes.
And if you want your question answered on our podcast, go to flexmediacle.com/watchtime.